Okay, so here we are back in Zbrush, and this time what we're going to do is just prepare these pieces for export to Blender. Now what I want to do is make sure that all these subtools, every single one of them, if we go to geometry, I want to make sure that we don't have any subdivisions. So we can either delete lower or bring it all the way to 1, which is what I don't want, as you can see there. And actually, yeah, we could delete higher for this one. So I'm going to bring it down subdivision 1, and I'm going to delete higher because we don't actually need that many polygons. You'll notice here it's quite a bit, but not as many as we need. Next, we're going to go to this piece, and I'm going to go to our dynamic menu, which is shortcut menu 3, and I'm going to apply that. Okay, now remember, dynamics is under dynamic subdivision, so geometry, dynamic subdivision, you can apply that. And now this may or may not have subdivisions, so let's check. Okay, so it doesn't have subdivisions, and that's fine. And next, I think the other thing we put subdivisions on might be the eye. Let's see. Okay, so that's it. We only have the ring and this piece here, basically the things that we added after. Actually, let's have a look at these shoes. The shoes might, okay, so the shoes are still on dynamic. So I'm going to go ahead and apply the dynamics here, and we have a subdivision of 4 here, so I'm going to delete that one. Okay, so delete lower for that one. And yeah, so that's fine. So the shoes, the ring, and this ribbon piece, okay, those are the only ones that we had, and with subdivisions. So yeah, I'm just going to make sure we delete those, and that way we can export it to Blender. Okay, so let's do that. And actually, before we do that, we need to make sure that our subtools, so the cart is fine, we don't need that one. So now let's just make sure that we name our things to, especially renaming these ones. So we'll call this the ring. Okay, and then we'll just call these the ribbons. Okay, and everything else should be named accordingly. So we'll go horns, tusks, yeah, and the horns and the tusks can be, you can just merge that down actually. So let's just merge down. Okay, the cloth is fine, the eyes are fine, the arms fine, the legs fine, and then we've got the feet. Okay, cool. So I have a total of 9 subtools in this folder. That's what you guys should have as well. And then don't forget that I merged the horns and the tusks, so that would make it 9. If you didn't do that, then you've got 10. So that should be fine. And let's have a look at this loincloth if I don't have any subdivisions here. And I don't. Okay, so now we've got it prepared for Blender. Let's actually take it into Blender, and we can, actually while I'm here, let me just do this. Okay, so just that really quickly, and okay, we can now take this to Blender. Okay, so in Blender, let's just make sure we actually have this, and I'll give you guys this project here. Okay, this folder, or this file rather, this project file. And what you want to do is go to Mesh, make sure you've clicked on Mesh, and let's create some folders here. And all we need to do is just create one folder. So we're going to call it New, and we're going to make this the slave. Okay, then make sure the slave is selected. Then we're going to go on over to Zbrush, and we're going to say visible. Okay, so now I've shown you guys how to install this plugin, so you guys should have it installed already. So I'm just going to click on visible. Okay, continue, and this will just export everything over to Blender. Okay, let's go over to Blender, and we want to click on import. Again, make sure you have the slave folder active, and we can click on import, and the scaling should be fine. That should be pretty fine to bring in here. So as you can see here, we have it on Blender. Okay, that's not too bad, and let me press 0 for camera to view. So make sure that this one here is selected. Okay, so click on the camera, the actual camera there. Okay, and then press 0 on your numpad, not your number row. The numpad is the numbers on your right of the keyboard. The number row is the row of numbers on the top of the keyboard. Okay, so here we have this view. It should fit perfectly because we haven't changed anything. And I noticed that this here, you're probably thinking, oh, we should have divided a little bit more. But what we're going to do is we're going to go to slave, we're going to right click, we're going to say select objects. Okay, then we're going to right click and say shade smooth. Okay, that'll make sure that everything is shaded smooth, and as you can see, that fixes our problem. It's basically rendering it as one smooth element. Okay, so now we can press 0 again on our numpad, and that is pretty good. So for our base here, and by the way, to snap, you can hold down Alt. So in Zbrush, it's Shift. In Blender, it's Alt. Okay, but I gave you guys the beginner tutorial, so that should be fine on that one. I just want to move this one up, so G, Z, let's just move it up a little bit. So there it's touching the feet. I just want it to be a little bit below the feet, so around about there maybe. So it's just below the feet. Let me actually see it from here. Maybe there. Actually, where it was fine. Okay, we'll press 0 again, and here we have our camera. So let's zoom out a little bit with this camera. So I'm going to select the camera by clicking on this box here. Okay, and that didn't really work. So I'll select the camera like this. Okay, and you can see there's a yellow line around the camera there. Then I'm going to press N, then I'm going to press camera to view, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. Okay, just position this a little bit. Okay, so maybe around about there. Okay, then we can press N and then camera to view. Okay, once you're done with the view you want, we can just kind of make sure that this is kind of where we want it. And that should be fine. So next, let's just go to our, let's just click and drag on this piece here to create a duplicate of that piece. And let's zoom in a little bit on this one, and let's get out the camera view here. By the way, to get this thing here, it's the navigate button, I believe. Yeah, so you can just go on over here and make sure you have the navigate checked. Then you've got this menu over here. Okay, so on this menu, on this side rather, let's press Z for Zbrush, and let's go to rendered. Now before we actually do that, let's make sure that under our render settings we've got cycles for our render engine, and yeah, and our output properties we want 720p, just so we can test these things out. And also we want PNG, RGBA, and that should be, yeah, all you should change there. So again, render engine, under the properties here, render properties, you want cycles, and that should be the only thing you change. And also actually under film you want transparent checked. Okay, and then output properties, we just want to change the resolution here and then make sure it's PNG, RGBA, and yeah, that should be fine. We should be good to go on that one. Okay, so we can go here, press Z, we want to go over to rendered. Let's save this actually. Okay, so let's press Z, go on over to rendered. So what I want to do is I want to take this light over here, and that is called the yellow point, and I just want to move it with G to just behind him here maybe. So around about here probably. Okay, so something like that. And this light here, I think what it's doing is, because this ribbon is like directly in the way there, so what I want to do is maybe just move it here with G. Okay, and then rotate it this way. So around about there, and then we can just rotate it back down again as well. Okay, that should be fine. And for now, let's just press Z and go to material preview. Okay, that will just make it a little bit easier to see what we're doing. And now you're probably thinking, why isn't this silver like we had it, or chrome like we had it before? That's because it exports the color information, and because it was white with that material, it exported it as white. So that's why it did that. So let's work on this material here, and we're just going to go down to the material properties, and we're only going to change the metallic, bring it all the way up. Okay, so now you see it's metallic over there, and we want the roughness to be down by quite a bit, so around about there maybe. I think that's pretty good. Okay, that should be good enough, and yeah, I think we'll leave that there. So for the ribbon, we want it to be a little bit shiny, so let's bring the roughness down a little bit so it's kind of shiny. Okay, and I think that should be fine. So I'm just going to remove that. Okay, and then we can just select our own color here, because I want to kind of customize it here a little bit. Okay, this means we can do whatever we want with this, and that should be fine. So maybe around about there, and then same thing with this one. I just want to click on it and then go over here to base color and then just say remove. Now we can just change this if we want. I just want it to be a little bit darker maybe, so around about there. And the roughness, we can bring it up a little bit, so it looks like a brush steel almost, as opposed to that. So now we can just have a little bit more control over the colors. Just maybe make this a little bit darker. That should be fine. And so next, what I want to do is maybe give this guy a little bit of a shine here. So with his eyes selected, we can make this specular all the way up and roughness all the way down. Okay, you can see there's a little bit of a shine on that. And the same thing with the horns or tusks. Let's bring the roughness down a little bit. Not too much. Okay, so 0.3 should be fine. And yeah, that's about it. I don't want to make anything else on that. Okay, so for his body, we can bring down the roughness by quite a bit. Maybe not that much, so let's say 0.4 maybe. 0.35. Yeah, I think that should be fine, 0.35. And same thing for this, for his arms, 0.35. And for his loincloth maybe as well, we can go 0.25, and his legs 0.25 as well. Okay, and for his feet we can go 0.2. Okay, for his background it is very green, but I think once we render it we should be fine. So let's save that. Okay, let's press Z on this side here. Okay, on this side. And let's go over to rendered. This light might be a bit distracting now I think about it. It's actually quite a bit much. So let's change the watts to about 500. Maybe let's try 200. Actually, I think 500 was fine, but what we'll do is we'll just lift it up here. So I'll press G and I'll just lift it up a little bit. But yeah, this green is actually, it's very green now I think about it. So let's actually change that. Kind of clashing with our character actually. So we can, honestly, we can change to whatever we want here. Okay, and this light, let's maybe make it blue. So, not that. Yeah, so something like that maybe, and this light here that's shining on him directly, this one, let's change that to a little bit higher as well. So maybe we'll make it 3000. And that might be too light actually. Well, we'll figure that out later. And what I want to do as well is go down to render properties, okay, and then go all the way down. And under color management, I want to go to, let's try medium contrast. Okay, what about high contrast? There you go. Okay, high contrast might be a bit much. I think I'll leave it on none actually. Yeah. Okay, also what I want to do is go from view, the filmic, I want to go to false color. Okay, this will just give us an idea of what's too harsh with the lighting. So the red means it's a little too harsh, but that's fine because this is metallic, so it's obviously reflecting the light pretty much exactly. The yellow, it's getting a bit much, but you kind of want it at this, yeah, kind of there, right? The color that you see here, the yellowy blue almost, that's kind of where you want it. So I think we should be fine. Go back to filmic. Okay, it shouldn't be too light, but we can always change that in Photoshop if we want. For now, I think that's not too bad. We've got our money shot, right, roughly. We can change that if we want, but that's kind of a very basic render in Blender. I'd definitely go back and forth, you know, changing some things. And let's go back here and back to materials, and let's bring down the roughness maybe. Let's see, 0.23 maybe. Okay, let's get out of rendered view here. Go back to solid. Okay, let's save that, and then let's actually render this with F12. Okay, I'm just going to press escape just to cancel that because we don't need to render the whole thing to get the idea, right? We can already see, yeah, okay, that's not too bad. Again, you can play around with some things, play around with some colors, blah, 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 right? And if you want, what you could do, this is really cool, by the way. Let's go on over to, so just like we had masking with Zbrush, what we can do is render masking by going to Workbench, okay, going over to Flat, okay, and let me press Z over here and go to Rendered. Okay, now everything is flat, by the way, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hide this one. So base light, I just want you to hide this. Okay, so just like that. Okay, so like that. Hide that, and then make sure the render is off as well. Okay, and then want it to go to flat, material. Okay, you can also click on random, so it'll give it different colors, different ID colors basically. But I just want material, just like that. So it's one single piece. And now if we press F12, okay, like that, it'll render in a second basically, and now we have a mask for our model, which is really cool because we can take it into Photoshop, and then of course we can change that background if we want to in Photoshop, which is really convenient. Okay, so that's really cool as well. So that is pretty much it for the renders, and so I hope you guys enjoyed this bonus piece here. I know a lot of you just wanted to see kind of how it's done in Blender, very quick as well, obviously on this side. On the paid tutorial, obviously go through a little bit more and a little bit more in depth with some things, and we tweak things just a little bit more in Blender as well. But that is it for this one. Like it if you like it, dislike it if you didn't. Let me know what you guys thought about it in the comment section, and if you really like my stuff, you can subscribe, or even better, you can buy my full tutorials available on Flipnormals, Gumroad, ArtStation, Udemy. Okay, and yeah, that is pretty much it. Like I said, hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will catch you guys on the next one.